While people don't always welcome or readily accept change, we do know that change often brings improvement, especially in software. I mentioned that one of the loudest complaints we heard with the release of 2007 was that custom toolbars had been taken away. They had to go because the features were buried so deep that people couldn't find them, and even those who did know where they were had to go through far too many clicks to reach them, hence the efforts to make their own toolbars. By doing so, they figured they had one-click access. Even though the ribbon is actually much more intuitive and exposes a lot of those features and is much more useful than the old toolbars, people still want to customize things. And being able to customize the quick access bar wasn't quite good enough. So, Microsoft Office new features. We have the ability to customize the ribbon. For me, this is much better than custom toolbars ever were. So, have a look. From the Backstage view, we can actually come down nearly to the bottom and click on Options. This brings up the Options dialog that is very similar to what was in 2007 by going to the bottom of the Microsoft Office button menu or list and clicking the button labeled Word Options or Excel Options or PowerPoint Options. Now they've made it more generic, and it's just options in each of the applications. You'll notice, though, that at the top of the window, it does tell us which application we're customizing. Now, we won't go through this because this is a new features course. Most of this is the same, but what is new is on the left, near the bottom, and it says Customize the ribbon. This interface and process is going to be very familiar if you've customized the quick access bar in Office 2007 or even 2010. Now, however, we use it to also customize the ribbon itself, and I just love this. If we look at the right-hand side, we see that all of our first-level entries are tabbed: the Home tab, the Insert tab, the Page Layout tab, etc. If we expand those, for example, we have Home expanded. We can then see the groups within a tab: the Clipboard group, the Font group, the Paragraph group. And then if we expand those, we can of course see individual options or maybe even groups of options. So this exposes the structure of the ribbon and also allows us to customize it. I'll now do a simple customization. I won't do everything, but I'll just show you basically how it works. So remember, I clicked on the Home tab. Now I'm going to look at the bottom right side of the window. Here I can either create a new group in the current tab or I can create a new tab. I'm going to click New Tab. It gets added and it currently says New Custom Tab. I'll click on that, and of course I want to rename that. So I'll give it my name. If you're working in a business environment and creating customized ribbon elements to share with others, you might want to name these things according to departments or processes or workflows. But for our example here, just my name is fine. So I'll make that change, and then I'll click OK or press Enter. Now we have the Erin tab. I need to populate that tab, so I can come down and select New Group. I also need to customize this name, so let's do Rename. When we rename a group, you see that we get the option to work with some icons as well. I won't spend a lot of time picking these. I'll just do a smiley face up on the right side, about, say, 4 rows down. And then I'll give it a new display name and call it Picture Tool. So I select that, get rid of it by pressing Backspace or Delete, and call it Pictures. Then, of course, I can press Enter or OK. Alright, so now I've customized this. Now what do I want to do? Well, I want to add some controls. This is where I need to go back to the left-hand side. And there are several ways we can access things. We can look at the most popular commands. These are probably already on the ribbon because that ribbon shows us the popular commands. It also can show us commands that are not in the ribbon. That could be really nice because those are buried and harder to find. I can look at all commands. I can work specifically with macros. I can work with things from the File tab or the Backstage view. All of my tabs, the Name tab, the Tool tabs, or I can even reference other custom tabs and groups. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Again, we'll keep this demonstration simple by clicking on one or two different options. Let's try this one first. I'll select Tool tabs and take a look at what we have. I'm talking about pictures, and I actually do see something called a picture tool. This is an entire group or category. Within Picture Tools, I have one selection I can make, and that's formatting of pictures. If I select that and click Add, I want you to watch what happens to my custom design. I currently have the Pictures group of the custom Erin tab selected on the right. We probably assume that my new entry will be added to or below the selected item, in this case, to the Pictures group of my tab. When I click Add, though, Picture Tools actually gets added as a first-level feature or an actual tab in my ribbon. To understand why, we have to step out of the menu frame of mind, where we could have any number of cascading or fly-out menus inside of menus. With the ribbon, we can't add a tab with its own set of groups and options to another tab, nor can we add it to a group on a tab. We can only add it as a tab itself. If that's a bit confusing, hang on, and in just a few seconds, we'll see what the predefined Picture Tool tab actually contains. I think it might be clearer what the issue is with trying to add it as a group or as an option within a group, and why we can't do that. Well, let's see some things, though, that we actually can add right to our new levels. I'll go back up to All Commands, and I'll scroll quickly because I know what I'm looking for. However, I recommend that you take some time and scroll slowly the first few times so you can see and appreciate just how many tools, commands, and options you have available in Microsoft Office. I'm looking for some specific things to work with my images. One of those is going to be brightness and contrast. Luckily for me, this is an alphabetical list, so I'll use the scroll wheel on my mouse, come down to the B's, and slow down when I get to the R, and there's brightness and contrast. I want to make sure that I have that selected, but I also want to make sure that I have the appropriate location selected. So we'll do one, then the other, then we'll add, and now you can see we're getting the hierarchy that we expected. Let me just add one or two more. Let's see if we can find an option for color tone. If I scroll down and find Colors, Column Select, yep, there it is, Color Tone, and Add. And let me do one more. Let's do Save as Picture. Now for that, I know I have to go all the way down to the S's. And yes, I could also drag the scroll box as well. You can see how many features there are. I have no idea how many total commands there are. I believe there are more than 500 possible commands you can do in each application. We drop down to the P's. There we go, Save As, and there are a lot of different Save As, so I want to make sure I do the right one. Save as Picture and Add. Now all I do is click OK on the bottom right and ta-da! Now I have the tab. Tab has a group called Pictures. Currently nothing is available because I don't have a picture selected. So let me click on an image that's currently on my document, and now you can see that some of them are available. Again, we'll get into this when we talk specifically about Picture Tools, but you'll see that when I select an image, it doesn't necessarily mean all of the tools are available. They have to be appropriate based on file type, etc. So, in short, we can see that my tab worked, that my group worked, and that my options are here. I just can't use them quite yet with what I have available. We also have to remember that we can force an item to be shown on a ribbon through our customizations, but the same rules apply as they do to the default ribbon. Having it visible doesn't necessarily mean it will be active or functional unless we also have the appropriate content selected. Contextual tabs and options that we add, just like an active menu item and toolbars in older versions, are only active when the content is appropriate too. So in this example, by selecting an image, I can make Save as Picture an available option, but I can't force the other two to be active since they're not appropriate for a clip art type image. I can also see my Format tab I inserted, and when I look at it, I can now clearly see why it couldn't be added as a group within a group, or even a group on my Personal tab. It has its own complete structure of groups and options that, by definition, means it has to be a tab. If I want to get back into customizing my ribbon quickly, I don't have to go through the Backstage view. I can always right-click anywhere on the ribbon, choose Customize the Ribbon, and I can come back in here and continue to make changes until I get it the way I want. I did want to point out on the bottom right of this window that you can import and export these. So if you create something wonderful and you want to share it with your family, friends, coworkers, you can export it and they can import it and use it without having to recreate it. In addition, you can also reset, which is what I'll do now. I'll choose Reset All of the Customization. It will ask, "Are you sure?" And I'll say, "Yes, I am." And then I click OK. And with that, you can see that my custom tabs are gone and I'm back to the default ribbon structure. Now, of course, normally I'd be doing a lot more customization and work to bring in all of the tools I want and organize them into the way that works for me, especially for specialized tools that aren't usually shown in the ribbon, like Save as Picture. But I think you get the idea. It doesn't end there, though. You can also right-click the ribbon, import, export, reset. We have a lot of functionality here. I don't know whether this was always intended to be the way, or if Microsoft listened to the feedback about people wanting to be able to customize the ribbon like they customize toolbars. Regardless, the ability to work with the new interface is a fabulous improved feature, even with some new enhancements and new functionality in Microsoft Office that we didn't see in any of the prior Office versions.